Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where we discuss leading political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. I'm still on vacation in Bali. This is being filmed in a new hotel room. Once again, please forgive the informality of the setting. This will be the case for at least the next few days. A piece of housekeeping before we jump into today's episode, which is quite a big one, frankly. I will be in Japan, Tokyo specifically, next week for business. I'll be speaking at a couple of events. While I'm there in Tokyo, I would like to do a subscriber meetup. Whenever I go to a new city, I like to do this to meet some of you all, some of the audience. So if you're in Tokyo, I'll be staying near Shibuya, and you would like to come to one of these meetups, please send me an email. The email address for the channel is in the description below. Give me a brief introduction to yourself and let me know whether you can make the Friday evening or Saturday afternoon meetup near Shibuya in Tokyo. This will be next Saturday or next Friday, the 9th and 10th of May. I look forward to seeing some of you in Tokyo next week. Now, with that housekeeping done, let's jump into today's episode. And first up, as Xi Jinping navigates an escalating trade war with US President Donald Trump, a deeper and potentially more destabilizing battle is unfolding within China's own military. The internal turmoil inside the People's Liberation Army, PLA, is raising serious questions about Xi's control and the stability of one of his most vital power bases. Xi, who serves as China's president, general secretary of the Communist Party, and chairman of the Central Military Commission, CMC, has long relied on the PLA to consolidate his authority. But cracks are emerging. The unexplained suspension of Miao Hua, head of the CMC's political work department, and a trusted Xi loyalist 5 months ago, marked the beginning of an unusual silence and unrest within the top military ranks. Officially removed for, quote, serious violations of discipline, end quote, typically a euphemism for corruption, Miao's fate remains unresolved. More striking is the ongoing disappearance of He Weidong, the vice chairman of the CMC and Politburo member, who has not been seen publicly since the 11th of March. His absence from a series of major events, including high-profile Politburo meetings, has only fueled speculation. As the number 3 military official after Xi Jinping and Zhang Youxia, he plays a critical role in operational planning, particularly regarding Taiwan. His former leadership of the Eastern Theater Command, which covers Taiwan, had positioned him as a key strategist should military tensions escalate in the Taiwan Strait, something that has been happening over the last several months. He and Miao both hail from the now defunct 31st Group Army, a military unit historically based in Fujian Province, the same region where Xi spent 17 formative years and built critical military ties. For years, Xi elevated figures from the 31st Group Army into top military posts, reinforcing a loyal base. Their sudden disappearances suggest that Xi is now purging those he once trusted, likely as part of a broader anti-corruption campaign or internal power recalibration. The mystery surrounding He comes amid significant military movements. On the 1st of April, the Eastern Theater Command announced major drills near Taiwan, a move interpreted as both a show of force and a signal that Xi is pressing forward on cross-strait pressure. However, it is unclear if any Taiwan experts like He were involved in planning the exercises, further exposing potential gaps in command. As state media broadcast Politburo meetings on artificial intelligence and trade tensions, He remained conspicuously absent, one of only 2 members missing. This silence, alongside the recent sidelining of other senior military figures tied to Fujian and the 31st Group Army, reflects a broader unraveling of Xi's military appointments made at the 2022 Party Congress. Now, Xi may still firmly be in control, but the need to remove close allies from key positions suggests a troubling situation at the top from Xi's perspective. The People's Liberation Army's internal instability could have far-reaching implications, not just for Taiwan, but also for China's ability to project power in the face of growing US pressure, as well as Xi's grip on power at the top. As the world watches the trade war, the more consequential battle may be unfolding behind closed doors in Beijing. Next up, and speaking of the trade war, China has begun quietly exempting around $40 billion worth of US imports from its sweeping retaliatory tariffs, offering the first clear sign that Beijing is seeking to ease the economic pressure from an escalating trade war and explore a return to negotiations. A list of 131 US products, including pharmaceuticals, industrial chemicals, and ethane, has been circulated informally among Chinese companies and customs officials. Though not officially announced, at least half a dozen Chinese firms have reportedly managed to import items from the list tariff-free. This move mirrors similar exemptions recently granted by the Trump administration on some Chinese goods, such as smartphones and other electronics, which accounted for approximately $102 billion, 22% of 2024 imports from China. By comparison, China's exemptions cover 24% of its 2024 imports from the US, underscoring a strategic effort to match Washington's actions while protecting its domestic economy. Quote, China is likely trying to mitigate damage to its economy by avoiding a collapse in key imports, end quote, said Gerald DePippo of the RAND China Research Center, adding, quote, the exemptions shouldn't be interpreted as a signal to the US, as China has been quiet about its exemptions, working through business channels and avoiding public statements, end quote. This is likely to avoid losing face to a highly nationalistic domestic audience, which has been told by Beijing that China will not back down. Still, there are growing signs of a possible shift in the broader US-China standoff. On Friday, China's Ministry of Commerce confirmed that it is assessing the possibility of trade talks, stating that it had, quote, noted, end quote, recent overtures from US officials seeking to initiate discussions. That came as Beijing reportedly approached Washington to clarify what changes the US wants regarding Chinese production of precursor chemicals used in fentanyl. There are also discussions underway about sending high-level Chinese officials, including Public Security Chief Wang Xiaohong, to Washington. The economic fallout from the tariffs has been considerable on both sides. In the US, GDP contracted in the first quarter, with a historic surge in imports and falling net exports dragging growth into negative territory. We did a deep dive into this in yesterday's episode of my other channel, Market Update. I've put a link to that channel in the description below. In China, factory activity recorded its sharpest downturn since December 2023, with export orders collapsing to their lowest level since the pandemic lockdowns of 2022. Despite the mounting pressure, US officials have insisted that any dialogue must begin with a direct approach from Beijing. President Donald Trump has said talks can only start if Xi Jinping reaches out personally. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent echoed that position, noting that the next step, quote, is up to China, end quote. In a move that may complicate diplomacy, Trump on Thursday expanded Secretary of State Marco Rubio's responsibilities by naming him Interim National Security Advisor. Rubio, a long-time China hawk sanctioned by Beijing, said in a televised interview that the tariffs are, quote, taking a huge toll, end quote, on China's economy, and that, quote, they want to meet, they want to talk, end quote. Still, China has set clear conditions. The Commerce Ministry emphasized that negotiations can only proceed if the US shows sincerity by lifting unilateral tariffs. Quote, if we fight, we will fight to the end. If we talk, the door is open, end quote, it said. Economists warn that the path to a resolution remains fraught, but recent developments suggest both sides may be inching toward a fragile détente, driven as much by mutual economic pain as by diplomatic calculation. This trade war is just a small part of the wider US-China Cold War, a Cold War which will be more transformative and perhaps more dangerous for the world than the First Cold War. This is an area we are going to be following very closely, and if you want to be on top of the most up-to-date analysis on this conflict, as well as everything China related, make sure you're subscribed to China Update, and you will be. If you're getting some value from today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you'd like to help keep the channel financially sustainable, this channel relies primarily on your support, subscriber support. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. Let's continue. The US Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, has intensified its efforts to recruit spies in China by releasing a pair of Chinese-language videos on YouTube and social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, titled Why I Contacted the CIA to Take Control of My Fate and Why I Contacted the CIA for a Better Life. The videos feature narrators who express growing fears about their roles within the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, and a desire to escape what they describe as an increasingly unstable and oppressive system. The move is a marked escalation in the CIA's campaign to rebuild its spy network in China, which was severely damaged over a decade ago after Beijing uncovered the covert communications methods used by US operatives. The Chinese Ministry of State Security, MSS, subsequently imprisoned or executed dozens of alleged CIA assets. At the time, it was a catastrophic loss of assets for the CIA, making Washington blind just as Xi Jinping was coming to power. CIA Director John Ratcliffe emphasized the threat posed by the CCP, calling it, quote, the most formidable challenge the US has faced, end quote. He described the videos as part of a broader strategy to counter China's ambitions for global dominance in economics, military power, and technology. Quote, this is a dedicated escalation of the espionage war with the United States, end quote, said Dennis Wilder, a former CIA China analyst. He noted that the videos are the first to showcase narrators explicitly criticizing China's political leadership, particularly Xi Jinping's aggressive anti-corruption purges. As we just discussed, these purges have recently reached the top ranks of the military. Although platforms like YouTube and Facebook are blocked in China, the CIA hopes the videos will reach disillusioned CCP members via VPNs. The campaign comes as Beijing strengthens its counterintelligence measures, urging citizens to report suspicious activity and expanding its counter-espionage laws. In response, China is expected to tighten its surveillance and counter-spy programs, intensifying a growing shadow war between the two global powers. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Saturday. Have a restful weekend. It's time for me to get back to the pool now. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you for a new week of updates on Monday.